Question for you is, if you become the vice president under a Trump administration, what will you guys do about the migrants that are already there, since they did arrive legally? And a follow-up to that, if you plan to deport them, how would you do that legally?
Well, look, this is a media and Kamala Harris fact check that I want to clarify and clear up right now. And here's now, the media loves to say that the Haitian migrants, hundreds of thousands of them, by the way, 20,000 in Springfield, but hundreds of thousands of them all across our country, they are here legally. And what they mean is that Kamala Harris used two separate programs, mass parole and temporary protective status. She used two programs to wave a wand and to say, we're not going to deport those people here. Well, if Kamala Harris waves the wand illegally and says these people are now here legally, I'm still going to call him an illegal alien. An illegal action from Kamala Harris does not make an alien legal. That is not how this works.
That's how you answer questions right there. Way to go, Vance. Oh, it was so cool to work with him for about a year when I was in the Marine Corps. Great job. Many folks are waking up and they're making their voices known on different podcasts when it comes to President Trump and what he's been doing. And it's just been pretty amazing to see these folks wake up.
Regarding the presidential candidacy, who do you think would be more beneficial for the black community, Ms. Harris or Mr. Trump?
I think, now this is my opinion, I'm about to get some people mad at me, but I think who would benefit black people more is most certainly, unequivocally,
after ICE agents detained several people in its field office. This comes a week after a Bronx high school student was arrested by ICE. Ali Bauman has more.
You will be placed under arrest on the charge of disorderly conduct.
Protests erupted into chaos Wednesday night outside the federal immigration court in Soho. Officers and crowds clashing over barricades. About 24 protesters taken into custody for charges that include obstruction of government administration.
People say, oh, let them come in legally. And when they try to come in legally and follow the court proceedings, they're being kidnapped.
The protests come hours after witnesses report several people were taken into custody inside the ICE field office in Lower Manhattan.
I've been working here for a couple years, and I've never seen either this many agents, let alone agents dressed in plain clothes, wearing masks, pulling people out of line. It's totally out of the ordinary.
Under the Trump administration, advocates say it is becoming increasingly common for ICE to arrest and detain migrants. A 20-year-old Bronx high school student last week.
It's a catch-22. You don't show up for your court hearing, then you also then could be ordered removed from the country.
The Venezuelan student, identified as Dylan, was arrested by ICE at the federal immigration court in Lower Manhattan, where he showed up for a hearing on his asylum request.
They mess with the wrong people when they're messing with New York City kids.
Naveed Hassan, a parent on the city's Board of Ed, says he's been fielding calls from worried immigrant parents.
The school was actively trying to help figure out how to get him back, and we're working with them, with the guidance counselor at the school.
Notice they call them immigrant. They won't say illegals. So they come over the border. They don't do it properly while all these other people are waiting legally to try to get into the United States. They skip the line, and then they get all the privileges, and they're wondering why they're getting deported. And then the media goes out and says, the immigrants, the immigrants, the immigrants. U.S. judge blocks Trump from halting Biden-era migrant parole programs. U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani in Boston issued an order requiring agencies under the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to resume the processing of applications from migrants covered by those parole programs pending the outcome of a class action lawsuit. Talwani rejected the Trump administration's claim that ending the program was within the agency's broad discretion to direct immigration policy. Federal law still requires agencies to follow a lengthy process for granting or denying parole and other immigration relief, wrote Talwani, an appointee of Democratic former President Barack Hussein Obama. Talwani in April actually blocked the Trump administration from revoking the temporary legal status of hundreds of thousands of Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans in the United States. Can anybody go in there and take this judge who hates America out of the courtroom and place that judge under arrest? Talwani. That is terrible what they're doing. While all this is playing out over here, you'll notice at your screen Zelensky attacking Moscow with drones and more. Trump and the U.S. have not made a statement that 4 days ago Zelensky used an American-made high-tech weapon to hit Putin's helicopter while he was traveling in it. Putin said, "We blame Zelensky and the United States. Now he's destroying Kyiv." There's got to be more to that, right? And so another court came out and said Trump doesn't have the authority to set tariffs. A federal court on Wednesday ruled Trump doesn't have the authority under this, so the U.S. Court of International Trade's ruling could bring the administration's trade war to a screeching halt. However, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 gave the president authority to do exactly that, said Wall Street Mav. Crazy courts ignoring laws and other court rulings, and he brings the receipts for that. Unbelievable.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country, and because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you...
to communicate with the judge. And while all that's going on, we got to go back to California. Beautiful state of California, right? They just legalized illegals overseeing their election. California State Rep Carl DeMaio. They passed AB 930 to allow illegal immigrants to count ballots in their elections. The bill allows illegal immigrants to serve on recount boards and allow ballots to arrive 7 days after Election Day, and will require counting of ballots received 7 days after the election. He said, quote, "I think most Californians would wonder how it can be a modern election if non-citizens are serving on an election board overseeing the election. That's not an insult. That's common sense." Huh.
Fellow assembly members on.
It does not modernize the way people vote. It adds the ability for non-citizens to serve as
Supreme Court days after the policy drew significant attention when the administration attempted to transfer detainees to war-torn South Sudan without a meaningful opportunity to contest their removal to a place where they might face torture. Wow. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was kicked off the House floor by Sergeant-at-Arms. Interesting what's happening in Texas. Brian Harrison showed us that, he exposed the corrupt leadership of the Texas House. They attempted to harm his constituents by stopping the creation of a desperately needed criminal court after the Senate had passed a bill to create it. He exposes their lies and fights back, and he wins. He's worked with the Texas Senate, now has assurances that this court will be created. He said he'll never stop fighting for his constituents. Well, it's interesting. The Texas Senate just passed a bill to abolish immunity for public schools and their employees in sex abuse cases. Wow. The vote.
Mark Benoff and others have called, saying that the future of San Francisco is great. They want to give it a shot. Therefore, we will not surge San Francisco on Saturday. Stay tuned. Let's see if they do the right thing. That's all Trump wants, actually. He wants all the different blue mayors, the blue governors, to go and clean up their states. Get rid of the illegals, get rid of the criminals, clean up the city, and arrest the people that need to be arrested. That's all he's telling everyone to do. Now, again, you have to remember, the deep state players, they don't want this to happen, because if they do this, they lose their constituents. They lose their votes. They lose the ability to push chaos. But Trump is going to give them a chance. Let's see how this all plays out. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that the FBI Washington field office, they're offering a $500,000. They're going to follow the rule of law. He can go after the source of all of this, and that is the Federal Reserve. He needs to have Congress in place. And you can see the deep state players, they're trying to keep the government down as long as possible. Number one, they want ICE, National Guard, they want them to leave their posts, and they want to have the ability to keep their illegals in position where they are now. So they're putting a lot of pressure on these different agents because you have to remember, they're not getting paid. And the longer we go, it makes it very, very difficult for these individuals. So this is what they're trying to do. And they're using everything they possibly can think of to explain why they're keeping the shutdown. Representative Eli Crane says Democrats are finally admitting that Barack Obama's signature policy has failed. Obamacare made health insurance a costly, frustrating nightmare for millions of Americans. The real winners, illegal aliens and insurance executives. Remember, they want the subsidies for Obamacare. Think about it. Obama created insurance, and of course, who wrote the legislation? The insurance companies. And the government said, you must take this or you're going to be penalized. Does that sound like a dictatorship to you? Didn't Biden do the same thing? You must take the vaccine or else you'll be fired. Doesn't that sound like a dictatorship? Absolutely. Wall Street Apes put this out and said, American doctor goes over how Barack Obama destroyed American healthcare. Before Obamacare in 2010, a family of four had $13,000 per year in premiums with a $3,000 deductible. Now in 2025, a family of four had $35,000 per year in premiums with a $6,000 deductible. Obamacare has now been around for 15 years, and the promise was that it was going to save us dramatically on our healthcare spending and make us healthier. That should tell you everything you need to know right there. Plus, you could see that individual, Whip K. Clark, when she said, yeah, we're going to make the people suffer, we're going to make the people pay, it looks like Speaker Johnson has that playing outside his office over and over and over. He has a gigantic screen in front of his office, and it just plays over and over and over, letting the people know this is what they're doing. Eric Doherty put this out and said, in an outrageous move, Senate Democrats reject paying essential federal employees during the government shutdown. Needed 60 votes. The vote comes after Democrats admitted suffering is their leverage. Chuck Schumer is vile. They shut down the government for illegals, then refuse to pay essential American workers. The people see what's happening. Chuck and Akeem won't shake this off. GOP cannot cave to the left on this. Absolutely. And Speaker Johnson right now says a shift has occurred. Republicans are
So there are things that they had set up to fail and fall because their plan was to overtake the American people. They were going to leave the borders open, have you invaded and taken over by other countries, and then your healthcare was going to fail. The economy was going to collapse. All of these things were going to happen while Kamala was in charge, and the American people were about to be set up in a big way. So the simple fact that Donald Trump is in control now is the reason why all the Democrats have been in panic mode ever since he became president, because they knew that the jig was up. Everything is going to come to a head. All of the lies are going to be exposed. Everything that they had set up because they were 100% sure that they were going to win are now issues for them. That's why Letitia James didn't care to hide all the stuff that she was doing behind the scenes, because it was never supposed to get caught. Donald Trump was never supposed to be in charge. It was never supposed to be investigated. But now that Donald Trump actually won, everybody's panicking. And the only thing they can do is continue to trick their base into thinking that the orange man is bad. God bless.
And oh boy, are they in panic mode. Well, how much panic are they in? Well, they're starting to get exposed on many levels, these elected officials. Like, I don't know, the Chicago mayor, remember he's coming together, standing up for the terror ICE is inflicting on our communities. Remember Mayor Brandon Johnson? I proudly joined Southwest Side rapid responders and all Julia Ramirez to distribute ICE-free zone signs. Know your rights info and resources to small businesses in Brighton Park. Let's see. January, a Tren de Aragua gang member that Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson was harboring from ICE. He kidnapped 3 defenseless women and did this.
Federal authorities took 32-year-old Ricardo Gonzalez into custody out in Cobb County, Georgia. He was wanted on a Chicago Police Department warrant for kidnapping, along with a probable cause for 2 counts on first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted first-degree murder. Officials believe Gonzalez, a suspected member of the Tren de Aragua gang, is the person who kidnapped 3 women here in the Chicago area back on January 28th. They say he took them to an alley in the 7700 block of South Oglesby Avenue, where he shot all 3 in the head. 2 of those women died, while the 3rd survived, managing to escape and find help.
There you go. Defend them. They run off to go somewhere else, and then they take 3 of our children away from us. And then if they head into, and they're arrested, well, guess what people are starting to find out? This is something that not many knew until people started doing their research. Zero Hedge notice, down the racist rabbit hole. Why are so many arrested minorities booked as white? So if you look at your screen, you'll notice that all of the guys that are on your screen right now are listed as white. But they're not. In Tennessee, sex offender registry, they're all listed as white, but they're not. Texas Public Sex Offender Registry, they're all listed as white, but they're not. Jared Harden said, I love fact-checking stuff, so it drives my friends nuts, but I love doing it, so I decided to see if the same thing was happening in my town, and sure enough, it is. He went out and found on his own, said, I'm going to figure this. He went out and found on his own, said, I'm going to figure this out. Yeah. There it is. All 3 of these guys that I just showed on your screen, they're all listed as white. Does that tell you something? Does it tell you about the numbers they're trying to manipulate more? To lie to the people? Speaking of lies, let's head on over to this Democrat New Jersey governor candidate, Mickey Sherrill. Boy, she freaks out when she goes on I guess a big show, some guy named Charlemagne. And he asked her a point-blank question, and boy, does she struggle.
So when Newsmax claims that you made $7 million from stock trades, what are they talking about?
Newsmax is, first of all, a very questionable organization that is paying multiple fines. I'm not sure what they're talking about.
Well, did you make $7 million in stock trades at all? Or?
I haven't.
Struggle of the British people against uncontrolled immigration, grooming gangs, and the mark of the beast digital ID, all while suffering under the most unpopular prime minister in UK history, Starmer. Very interesting, because we've watched some more of that play out over the weekend. If you guys weren't paying attention, they actually had some marches over the weekend. Saturday, they had this march on. Yep, screaming Allah Akbar. And from most reports that I was noticing, there were no police at all. They just allow them to go out in the streets and scream that they've taken over the country. And you won't believe how many women were running up to local stores screaming, come out and join us, come out and join us because we've taken over this country. Then the next day, patriots go out from the UK, with flags and just peacefully walking, not screaming Allah Akbar and all that. And every meter along the road that they were on, they were surrounded by police. Because obviously these are the criminals, right? These are the folks that actually live here. If you look at your screen, you'll see all those police on the left side. Look at that, all lined up, every meter, 1 meter at a time.
You're here on Rumble because you don't trust the mainstream. You don't like the censorship and how the elites are trying to control you.
at a time. Just to keep an eye on all of these folks who actually live here, because they're the dangerous ones. But oh no, you don't see him standing anywhere on Saturday with all these guys as they're screaming that they've taken over the country. And that takes me to, again, you head over to the television side and you have Alex Phillips feeling unsafe there.
Talked about this
is
morning.
Such an important issue for me because I've been living in London for 10 years. I've also lived in multiple other countries around the world. Never before have I felt as unsafe as I do now. When I walk down the street, I'm increasingly being leered at. I'm increasingly being followed like I'm going around the souks of Morocco. And it's not visibly to me anyway, people who are born and bred here. It isn't. And it's very difficult because we're not allowed to talk about it because, oh my gosh, that breaks taboo. Oh, you're a racist if you say this. I'm sorry. A lot of women going about their daily business feel that their safety is being directly threatened by people who are coming from different cultures. And this needs to be discussed because I've had enough. All my other female friends have had enough. When I put this stuff online, the number of comments online from other women saying they've had enough and saying thank you for talking about this. Was it not enough when we noticed what was going on with grooming gangs? Was it not enough when we see what's happened to the victim of Abdullah Zaidi? When are we going to have the conversation that women's safety is being mortgaged at the altar of mass immigration and this faux political correctness?
Interesting. On your right side, I could play the audio, but it's hard to understand. But there's a guy that, you can barely hear it. He says, this is a reminder of police telling Muslims, they're telling the Muslims in UK to hide their weapons in the mosque as they ran riot attacking the natives following Axel Rudabakana murdering 3 little girls. Simultaneously, English mothers were dragged from their homes and instantly jailed for social media posts. And then if you head on over, you can see the guys screaming out on their loud speakers. Can you hear this? You ready? Yep, they're on the streets doing their big prayer with the big screens, but the big speakers. But then if you're actually having a speaker out there and you're teaching about Jesus,
I've been preaching about repentance from sin. I've been preaching about repentance from sin into the camera. I've been preaching the gospel of God through the Bible, and I've
you can barely hear him, but he's like, hey, I've been preaching on the corners. I'm talking about the Bible. So 500 mosques in London, they get to pray to Allah on the streets, wherever they want. But one guy stands there with his speaker and he tries to teach the gospel and he's told to stop. Just showing you what's going on over there for so many people that aren't aware. There was a guy that was actually deported. And he went over to the UK from America. He grew up in America his whole life but listen to his story.
Yes, I got deported after 20 plus years and 97+% of my life in the United States. ICE agents picked me up in Chicago and threw me in jail for 3 weeks because my parents did not file my paperwork correctly. They brought me to the United States on a visa, overstayed that visa, had opportunities to appeal it in court, and my father did not show up to court. Now I'm in the United Kingdom, and this country sucks. And it has made me more America first, because you see that outside of London, all of England is a third world country, a dump. I hate it here, and I am excited and ready to go back to the United States.
He's ready to go back. It wasn't his fault. His parents didn't do the work. They came in illegally. They had their son, and they didn't do what they were supposed to, and now he's been kicked out. He can't wait to get back. 10 years. Whew. That's a huge lesson to learn. Speaking of lessons to learn, you guys remember all the gambling that's happening with the NBA? Well, I told you last week, it's going to be more than NBA. It's going to be all kinds of folks hopefully getting exposed in a big way.
That's what's going on. But there are so many layers to this. I think this is the proverbial tip of the iceberg. We're going to see this in amateur sports. I think every sports league right now is freaking out, wondering when is it going to touch us next?
Wow. So you think this goes beyond basketball?
I do, because these prop bets are available in every single sport, right? You can do it in the NFL, you can do it in college football, college basketball, any sport at all. So if you're a guy, you're a young guy playing college, I don't know, basketball, and you know that you can influence a prop bet, a bet on your own stats, of course you can influence that, right? You can take yourself out, you can turn the ball over, you can miss shots like Anna's can.
Putting our children in so much danger. They're putting everyone in danger, and they're not doing nothing to help us.
And that's the thing a lot of us feel. How many is too many?
She's begging her son to leave the country. Her cousin was taken out, gone. She said her friends, her family, they're dying. You know, Concerned Citizen posted this video. If you look here on your screen, hundreds of illegal migrants sit down for their third home cooked of the day inside a luxury hotel in Derby Migrant Hotel in UK. There isn't one single woman or child. These are not refugees. This is an army. Getting this reminder from people. They're posting. They want you to know what's going on over there. And you head into our country, and you got all kinds of things playing out. Look at this. 2 Muslim doctors have been performing illegal surgeries on girls in Minnesota. It's a Shia Muslim practice in the United States.
Troubling details are emerging in the federal case involving a local doctor. Jumana Nagarwala is accused of performing an illegal medical procedure on young girls. The procedure, referred to by prosecutors as female genital mutilation, was allegedly performed at a clinic in Livonia. And now the man whose name is on the front of that clinic was charged in connection with the case. Sean Lay is live with the very latest on charges against this second doctor and his wife. Sean.
That is correct. All 3, 2 doctors and a wife, all charged now in this very troubling case. The FBI says the evidence here is mounting. They are relying on some security camera footage, some taped phone conversations, and the testimony from 2 very young girls who say they were taken to that clinic where they experienced unthinkable pain.
It's classic.
So, the FBI is involved. You think we'd have saw this in the last administration or during Obama's time? I don't know. I don't think so. Right now, people are asking questions. Vance was, of course, at talking to students on campus, and this was, brought up again about all of the deportations and more.
Pushing out policies that hurt us. And these policies are not even solving the problems. These policies are just creating chaos.
Ma'am. Okay. So again, I'm gonna finish answering the question. And then, if I've answered all 9 of your questions in less than 15 minutes, then we can keep on going. We got to have a little fun, right? So here's the thing. I can believe that the United States should lower its levels of immigration in the future, while also respecting that there are people who have come here through lawful immigration pathways that have contributed to the country. But just because one person or 10 people or 100 people came in legally and contributed to the United States of America, does that mean that we're thereby committed to let in 1 million or 10 million or 100 million people a year in the future? No, that's not right. We cannot have, I'll go and finish. We cannot have an immigration policy where what was good for the country 50 or 60 years ago binds the country inevitably for the future. There's too many people who want to come to the United States of America, and my job as vice president is not to look out for the interests of the whole world. It's to look out for the people of the United States. Now,
very interesting. Now, remember we were talking about things that play out in our country where you can't share your faith and Sharia law is not being practiced. Well, Dearborn, Michigan forced to post a public apology on their city's website for 3 years.
In Dearborn, Michigan, they locked us up, threw us in jail, kept us there for a while, and we hadn't done anything. And the things they accused us of, we didn't do at all. No investigation. They just took us and locked us up. And then they were wrong. Then we were found not guilty. And then we sued them, and they had to apologize, and they had to post an apology on their city's website for 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing everything we can to avoid the situation that is being produced, where in Muslim countries you have Sharia Sharia. And then in Western countries where you supposedly don't have Sharia, you get this sort of replacement Sharia, right? Where, sorry, you can't make fun of Muhammad. Sorry, you can't, because police will come in there and stop you based on other people complaining.
That's YouTuber David Wood, publicly arrested for criticizing Muhammad and preaching Christianity. The Muslims had him arrested. Kind of brings up these points here.
Christian values out there that I think that we've just sort of assumed and we've in fact taken for granted.
Because of tariffs and, frankly, the landslide results of the 2024 presidential election. The one question that kept coming up, however, was how did the Democrats shut down the United States of America? Why did the powerful Republicans allow them to do it? The fact is, in flying back, I thought a great deal about that question. Why? Majority Leader John Thune and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson are doing a great job, but the Democrats are crazed lunatics that have lost all the sense of wisdom and reality. It is a sick form of the now legendary Trump derangement syndrome that only comes from losing too much. They want trillions of dollars to be taken from our healthcare system and given to others who are not deserving. People who have come into our country illegally, many from prisons and mental institutions. This will hurt American citizens. And Republicans will not let it happen. This is where he says it. It is time.
You'll make that worse or better?
I don't know about free buses, but you can't give everything for free.
Exactly.
I mean, my parents worked their whole life, you know, and immigrants come here, they put 10 in a room.
Now they get put up in the nicest buildings in the city.
Not good with me. I was a big liberal, but I changed my mind. My mind. I'm going to be a moderate. I work at a church.
Yep. So the guy said, I saw what was going on, right? You had to see it. I was a liberal. I saw what was going on with these illegals taking these benefits and veterans sleeping on the streets. And I'm switching out. You had to see it. It's working. So we head over to California with Prop 50. There needs to be a major investigation into California's Prop 50.
U.S. House maps, and we can make a projection in California. The polls are closed as of now, and CNN projects that Californians have indeed voted yes on the state's newly drawn congressional district map.
The Californians did not pass Proposition 50, folks. Somehow I ended up in the Spanish side of TikTok, says Wall Street Apes. And while searching Prop 50, everyone's speaking full Spanish saying, go vote yes on Prop 50.
Comadres, ¿ya fueron y votaron?
I ran and voted, comrades of California. I already went and voted. That fast is grab their bag to go to the rice or go to the Marshalls. Grab your stuff and go vote. Close at 8 o'clock. And they still have time. At 6 o'clock, if you see it, it's a reminder. Exercise their vote. Exercise their votes. It's the privilege. Make sure you go vote. That's right. All of you guys that can't speak English, that don't belong in this country, make sure you go vote. This is why Gavin Newsom made checking ID illegal. President Trump said the unconstitutional redistricting vote in California is a giant scam, in that the entire process, in particular the voting itself, is rigged. All mail-in ballots where the Republicans in that state are shut out is under very serious legal and criminal review. And like I showed you guys in the intro, the White House is leading investigations into these. Serious.
Anyone over the age of 40 can reverse type 2 with this recipe using apple cider vinegar. Grab a pen and paper and write down this recipe. Today, I'm...
Breaches of crime. The coup against our country. How about the machines? They were actually down in red districts of New Jersey. 2022, the machines went down in the red districts of Arizona. In 2020, the machines were down all across America. They counted 6.5 million votes in California, 60% of the ballots cast in 36 minutes. Did you catch that? For this Prop 50 vote. Tell me again why we can't have single-day in-person voting. Please also explain to me why it takes 3 weeks to count the votes in contested districts when Republicans are ahead, but end up losing. But yeah, the second they get their their numbers they need for Prop 50. Man, this thing's done 36 minutes. This constitutional redistricting vote in California is a giant scam, in that the entire process, in particular the voting itself, is rigged. All mail-in ballots where the Republicans in that state are shut out is under very serious legal and criminal review. And like I showed you guys in the intro, the White House is leading investigations into these. Serious.
Anyone over the age of 40 can reverse type 2 with this recipe using apple cider vinegar. Grab a pen and paper and write down this recipe. Today, I'm
breaches of crime, the coup against our country. How about the machines? They were actually down in red districts of New Jersey. 2022, the machines went down in the red districts of Arizona. In 2020, the machines were down all across America. They counted 6.5 million votes in California, 60% of the ballots cast in 36 minutes. Did you catch that? For this Prop 50 vote. Tell me again why we can't have single-day in-person voting. Please also explain to me why it takes 3 weeks to count the votes in contested districts when Republicans are ahead, but end up losing. But yeah, the second they get their numbers they need for Prop 50, man, this thing's done 36 minutes. Let's get this information out. Hey, boom, we won. Had it gone the other way, we're going to have to wait 3 weeks to find out if Prop 50 was actually passed. And they'd say, we didn't really get the votes. We're counting, we're fine. Trying to figure it out. 3 weeks later, they'd say, yep, we won. Prop 50's in. That's how they work it. Let's continue on with other folks doing investigations out there.
No one can answer the question. If a Republican was advocating for Prop 50, none of these people would support it. How is this even legal? If Prop 50 was being pushed by...
So she's out there asking this question about Prop 50, and they say, you don't even know. So all these people, these Asian Americans, supposedly, they can't even speak English. She found out many of them. She was talking to them, and they lined them up, and they said, look, go in there and vote. We got to get Prop 50 through. And these two characters won't even answer a question. They're like, oh, that's a stupid question. If it was Prop 50 done by Republicans, that's stupid. Well, if Prop 50 was done by Republicans, they wouldn't be there because they're against anything that the Republicans do. Because Prop 50 might be something more on the lines of maybe supporting the Republican side and getting their numbers up. So California court kills the voter ID law. Local control dies in the appeal. The California's 4th District Court of Appeal just gutted Huntington Beach's voter ID requirement. Rob Bonta and Shirley Weber won. The message: states control elections, not cities. Measure A, passed by voters to require ID in 2026, is now legally dead. Rob Bonta: California's system is already secure and uniform statewide. So, local democracy takes a back seat to state uniformity. Voters wanted voter ID. Judges said no. Election integrity arguments lost to centralized authority. Huntington Beach tried. California's bureaucracy said absolutely not. And the source for this is Organized California Governor. Wow. What a mess. President Trump, the Democrats are far more likely to win the midterms and the next presidential election if we don't do the termination of the filibuster, the nuclear option, because it will be impossible for Republicans to get common sense policies done with these crazed Democrat lunatics being able to block everything by withholding their votes. For 3 years, nothing will be passed, and Republicans will be blamed. Elections, including the midterms, will be rightfully brutal. If we do terminate the filibuster, we will get everything approved, like no Congress in history. We will have fair, free, and safe elections, no men and women's sports, or transgender for everybody, strong borders, major tax and energy cuts, and will secure our Second Amendment, which the Democrats will also terminate immediately. If we don't do it, they are far more likely to do well in the upcoming elections, which would mean a packed Supreme Court, 2 more states, and 4 more Democrat senators and 8 more electoral votes. He's getting his information out, and he also put this out. And so it begins. And so it begins. Dan Scavino hit drop 2350 below 2 weeks ago, saying the same thing, and so it begins. you know, the markers on this are really, really important to talk about.
Well, Grant, I have said this multiple times. There's no other way. We have to be this way. We have to speak out. They're killing the good ones, Grant. That's what they're doing. The assassination of Carlos Manso last Saturday, executed at broad daylight in front of his family. It was just, it lit a fire in the whole country. The whole country, it is completely upset. On November 15th, they're going to do a nationwide protest against the narco government of Claudia Sheinbaum. And that is not only it, Grant, what has been happening in less than a week. It is going to completely shock you. They have assassinated 5 police officers in the whole country of Mexico. Just yesterday, they assassinated one right here in Tijuana. And not only that, yesterday, around 6 o'clock in the evening, they assassinated in San Juan, Oaxaca, a councilwoman, Guadalupe Urban. So this violence keeps escalating and escalating in our country.
All right, I want to play a clip from you.
Yeah, this is what they're doing. This is the Democrats. This is what they wanted to do. This is why they purposely extended the ACA subsidies only until December 31st of the next presidential cycle, so that if a Republican got elected, they could do this exact thing. They could demand that these ACA subsidies get extended, and if not, then they're going to run around and say that Republicans drove your premium.
Right.
No, the ACA drove the premiums up. The ACA is the problem. It's why it's under the ACA that we cover illegal aliens. It's under the ACA that you cover adult children up until 26. Yeah. And you've got, on the flip side, you've got the ideological left that runs around saying, we're the richest country in the world. People should have free healthcare. But realize that healthcare is not a thing that you can just give away. It is somebody's service. It is somebody's intellectual property. It is
so amazing.
And if you knew anything, copper wire doesn't work with glass. Glass doesn't work with other substances. And they spent billions of dollars, and when they turned it on, nothing happened. Okay? We're getting the most sophisticated, all brand new. Every control tower will have the same exact system. It'll be the most sophisticated system by far in the world. And what we've done is we've looked around other countries and we've taken the absolute best systems in every different form, because there are different. You have lots of different companies like IBM and Raytheon and a lot of great companies. They're all bidding, and we're going to pick the best one, and it'll get built relatively quickly. And we are going to have the greatest air traffic control system anywhere in the world.
It's about time. We're paying to be invaded so corporations can have cheap slave labor. Look at this. New non-citizen Social Security numbers issued. Fiscal year 21 to 270,000 plus. Then it went to 590,000 a year later. Then it went to 964,000 a year after that.
Try this simple test to see if drinking this new tea will fix your breathing problems.
That's because the real problem isn't inflammation. It's this toxic lung glue that makes stuck mucus thick.
Then it went to 2,095,000 in fiscal year 2024. President Trump said he's working to circumvent insurance companies, which are attempting to massively increase premiums and give healthcare money to people instead. Talked about that. Democrats will now be forced to defend insurance companies. Checkmate. He wants a good system. And who will ever forget what we've learned, guys? Just this year, I'm thinking of it now. USAID, remember USAID, all the money that they were stealing from us, giving it to all these others. Then we found out about SNAP, and then the government spending all types of money to people, giving it to people that don't really shouldn't have it. President Trump addressed that in his interview.
If Kamala got in, you wouldn't have, not only wouldn't you have $20 trillion coming in, you would have money leaving, and your welfare system. Take a look at some of the welfare things that we're talking about. They've doubled, tripled, and quadrupled since I left office.
SNAP benefits have
well, SNAP has gone from like $7 billion to many times $7 billion. And, people keep talking about SNAP. But SNAP is supposed to be, if you're down and out, you really, really have. That's what the purpose of it. People are getting, they walk in and they get it automatically now. So the number is many times what it should be. It's disgraceful.
Can we change
You wouldn't
that?
have been able, I'll tell you what, this country would have been busted, 100% busted within 5 months into a new administration. I didn't win.
Can we reform SNAP and these benefits so they're used for the people who really need them?
It's meant for people. And you know what it does is it really puts the country at jeopardy. People that need it have to get it. I'm all for it. But people that are able-bodied can do a job. They leave their job because they figure they can pick this up. It's easier. That's not the purpose of it.
How about that? All types of money going back into our pockets, folks. You can feel it, you can see it, and they've got a plan, and they've been working on it for a long time. You know, we have an opportunity to take that and do some great things with it, especially with the precious metals interviews we do every week. You can watch it rise every single week and get out of fiat, head over on to gold and silver. We have this amazing interview we dropped Saturday from Dr. Kirk Elliott. If you haven't checked it out, I encourage you to go watch. And he brought up some great points about the precious metal rebound that's going to be playing out before our very eyes.
To push it to the bottom.
Yeah.
You can't. Right? You can't hold it down.
The minds of these females, they have lost it altogether. And I think when we had our zombie movies, maybe this is what they portrayed or saw coming. Oh, man. The state of Oregon started mail-in ballots in elections 44 years ago, folks. The last Republican mayor of Portland, Oregon was 45 years ago. Does that make sense now? Yeah. Governor Tina Kotek has officially signed into law the largest tax increase in the history of Oregon, $4.3 billion to clean up her party's transportation failures. Should enrage the Oregonian, regardless of political party. This is the most important part. Republicans have submitted a referendum to have this put on the ballot for the people to decide. They'll have 30 days to collect 100 labor over the U.S. citizens. You're not allowed to see how many illegals are actually in your state or how many are working for your local businesses while they are getting housing and EBT SNAP assistance with your tax dollars. Trump's getting ready to shut off their EBT and their SNAP, their bennies, and removing their housing assistance, and we just saw that. And when Trump does this, the greedy folks out there that set all this up, that imported this new slave class, are going to watch in horror as their precious mass replacement migration reverses itself. And about 20 million of these illegals get out when they can't get any food or housing assistance any longer. You're not going to recognize this country by January 2029. You know, as I'm reading all this, I always think, well, how do they get around all of this, the enemy? How does the enemy work its way to get us to forget about all of this and keep the illegals here?
To no one's surprise, when the Democrats took control, these requests went unanswered, and the question of citizenship was waived. But the fact remains that the concept of sanctuary cities and radical blue states ignoring immigration law and using the illegal population to manipulate the lines of congressional districts is in fact unconstitutional. Not only are there severe constitutional concerns from the inclusion of illegal immigrants, but the Census Bureau admitted to having made several, quote, errors in their 2020 census report. Convenient, seeing that as in 2020, Donald Trump was on top of the ticket. In 2020, the Bureau undercounted in primarily deep red states such as Arkansas, Florida, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Texas, all red, while overcounting in radical left blue states like Delaware, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, and Rhode Island. This egregious error led to many states being denied proper representation in Congress and the Electoral College. So much so that these errors cost Republicans not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 seats in the House. In addition to the 2020 miscounting, including illegal immigrants in the census has improperly granted radical left blue states 12 additional seats in the United States House of Representatives. It's a total of 18 seats gained. That is a huge problem, and those are the facts. Mr. Mayfield, thank you so much for being here, sir. I have a question for you, if you don't mind. You, sir, are a seasoned litigator who has practiced in matters ranging from complex commercial litigation to constitutional and administrative law. In your expert opinion, and I want you to really speak about this in long form because I want this recorded, should illegal aliens be included? Put said piece of paper through a machine, copied it, they gave me another copy, then they gave me my very proud I voted sticker. And even with those stringent rules, with my daughter who is 7 years old was actually with me, she too got an I voted sticker. And guess what? With those stringent laws, we still have illegals voting in federal elections. So the question is not even about what's happening in Texas. If it's happening in Texas, you have to imagine that while it may seem like a minuscule amount to you, sir, that number needs to be 0. And if it's happening in Texas with those stringent rules, imagine what's happening in other blue states that don't have anything that closely resembles that level of redundancy to ensure that the person that voted in that election is in fact a citizen that has an address and has an ID. And with that, I'll yield back the remainder of my time.
How about that? Moving forward, President Trump has been talking about the money, despite the massive amount of money being made by the United States of America, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Security, it is dangerously radicalizing, and it has all of the evidence of willfulness and intent. And when they go on TV and they say, well, we can't name what order is illegal, that proves the point. It was never about the law. It was breaking down the chain of command. The Democrat Party is openly engaged every day in trying to tear down democracy, whether it be judges who are binding the president with unlawful orders, releasing violent criminals back onto the street, trying to cement and protect the illegal alien invasion of America, and now fomenting rebellion inside the ranks of our armed forces and CIA. Yeah.
So a quick update. Shooter Romula Lakanamwala.
Here it is. What do you know? Well, this individual appears to be from Washington State. It appears that he immigrated here into the United States in 2021 as part of the operation to bring Afghanis who had worked with or assisted the United States government over into this country as Afghanistan was beginning to fall.
The Special Immigrant Visa Program, SIV program.
Right, exactly. This was the Allies Welcome Program. He applied for asylum under that program and was granted that asylum in April of this year, although he's been here, it appears, since 2021. So that sets this in a place where the FBI is going to be looking at what was the vetting that was done prior to his arrival here. When he settled in Washington, what has his been?
Whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was written for?
Get your guns. You did this when? Hours before the guard shoots. Mark Kelly came in when? An hour before the guard shoots. What rhetoric are they out there saying? Oh, they're coming after the black people. Oh, what does she come out and say, Elisa Slotkin? Oh, they're shooting civilians. What does Jasmine Crockett say? Oh, they're going to come after the blacks. And then they have the Google searching of, did he do it yet? Did he do it yet? How many were connected to this? Who paid for it? How did he get here? What's going to happen?
The president's remarks, I think, were among the most moving that I've ever heard. It was perfect for this incredibly tragic occasion, this heartbreaking, anguishing tragedy right before Thanksgiving. I think he spoke movingly and beautifully to what we've lost, but also demonstrated the tremendous resolve and determination to not only continue the mission these soldiers died for, but to expand the mission, declaring that far from being deterred, the commander-in-chief, our president, is sending 500 more troops to the city to show that no terrorism will sway us. And also having a conversation tonight with America, the conversation that we have to have with President Trump saying that Joe Biden, the Biden administration, the Democrats have inflicted on this nation the worst national security threat in our history. We've never faced a threat like this. 20 million people brought into our country from the most failed societies on earth. Afghanistan, Somalia, Libya, Iraq, brought here. No vetting, no conditions, no rules. Brought here on visas, brought here as refugees, brought here as asylees, brought here as illegals. Brought here in every way imaginable, by plane, train, bus, automobile, by land, by sea. For 4 straight years, they deluged this country. And now, more blood is being spilled as a result. What you heard tonight from President Trump, the breaking news here tonight, is saying that his government is going to accelerate efforts to review every person added to this country over the last 20 years, or the last 4 years, all 20 million. Now, obviously, if you're illegal, you're out automatically. But everybody else who was brought here, refugee, asylum status, whatever status, as he said, if you're not someone who loves this country, if you're not any benefit to this country, then we're going to send you out of this country. Because it's enough already. No one else has to die. No one else has to be murdered. No one else has to be shot. No more empty seats are needed at the Thanksgiving table or the Christmas table because of what Democrats have done to this country. So tonight we heard from a commander-in-chief a historic announcement, a brave announcement, exactly what America needed to hear.
Exactly what they needed to hear from President Trump. Not only that, we had J.D. Vance, guys, just to tell you how long they've probably been working on this, they being the enemy with mainstream media and politicians. Don't forget that J.D. Vance pummeled the fake news when Margaret Brennan claimed that Afghans were vetted and safe. They were already trying to get ahead of it.
When you talked to us in August, you said, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and helped us. Do you stand by that?
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals
but there are
have been properly
30,000
vetted.
people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary
Do you stand by
concern
it?
as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American.
We've got real waste, real fraud.
I don't really
but-
care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
Margaret. Oh, Margaret. Trained well, got her earpiece there in her ear, and you can't see it, and somebody's telling her, just keep going, keep pushing, saying that they were all vetted. She has no clue what she's talking about. No clue. She's just reading her talking points. And now we see how they prepped this probably for a while. They wanted the minds of the people of America to think, oh, they've been properly vetted. Everything's been fine. And she does the little snark look there. Did you see that? Little snark look. You guys ever seen that look before? Mm-hmm. The liars. You think that that's the only group coming from the outside causing problems? Well, what happens when a Virginia assistant principal and his brother?
We've got real waste, real fraud, and we are going to get to the bottom of it. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Unemployment Agency. People can simply check a box saying that they are eligible, and in most cases, that is enough to start receiving benefits. There's only 4 pieces of information that are required: a first name, last name, an address, and an alien number, only if that person self-identifies as a non-citizen. No social security number is required, even if someone claims to be a citizen. I brought MDHHS before our committee. We pulled up the website for benefits. We went through all 27 pages, and at the end, we're given the opportunity to register to vote. We've got...
Just a side note, remove the illegals who are voting in the elections, putting in these folks that you think that they're actually the winners. You think the people actually picked them? Oh, no. And of course, you guys are wondering with Venezuela, all the stuff going on down there. Remember that Smartmatic Dominion has ties in Venezuela. Oh, starting to make sense, isn't it? And so these illegals, when they get in and they illegally vote and they put their people in, and then they start saying, we want the laws changed our direction, for our religion, for our Sharia law, for our beliefs. We want to change this country, the United States of America, to what we want. Never forget.
Just so we're clear, if a foreigner comes to your country and demands that you accept their culture as your culture, or demands that you change your beliefs, that is not a foreigner. That is not an immigrant. What that is an invader. That is someone that is coming over to your space to take over and invade it. So when you sit there and you look at what's happening in New York, you look at what's happening in Texas, you look at what's happening in the places where these people came from, you look at Somalia, you look at all of these individuals who are being put into a position of power who support this type of invasion. You need to understand what's coming next. They will take away our weapons. They will tell us that we cannot eat certain foods. They will tell us that we cannot go to certain places. They will tell our women that they have to wear certain clothes. They will tell them that they have to dress modest. They will force them to do a lot of different things. You will have to deal with people praying in the middle of the street while you're driving and stopping you and invading your movement, your space. You need to understand what's taking place in America so that you can understand that these people are not coming here with good intentions. This is not me saying that I hate people. This is me basically saying, look, if you like the fact that America is a free place where you get the freedom to believe in what religion you want to believe in, if you get the freedom to decide what you want to do as long as nobody is getting hurt, if you love that part of America, the freedom of choice part of America, you need to understand when people come over and they say that you don't have a choice, they probably should go. Because you don't get to tell us what to do in our own country. It's not being rude. It's just saying, hey, look, this country was built in a way where everybody can come here and feel happy and feel blessed and enjoy the fact that this is a free nation, not a nation that will be enslaved by any foreigner invading it.
Speaking of foreigners invading, a reminder, a warning for what's to come. Hamtramck, Michigan, the 12th congressional district, represented by the domestic terrorist Rashida Tlaib, remember? Her own constituency at the Intifada conference. Listen to this.
But we have and we will continue to globalize the Intifada. And we will force our governments to listen to us. Because they want us to accept a world that is unacceptable.
Remember, this Intifada includes what? Suicide bombings, the stabs, the terrible things that would happen to the women. And it's not something that folks want in this country. As a matter of fact, Fox News had folks sitting around and, open conversations. They're asking, is Trump going too far in deportations?
The difference between being kind, and to me, my faith is one thing is being nice to people from different lands, but they also have to be respectful of our laws. And everybody wants to come to the United States because we have a great economy, have a lot of opportunity, but there's a process to do that. My family has been here since at least the 1700s. There's no one that's gave us a free $1,400 debit card. No one gave us a free apartment. No one gave us anything free. We had to work for it. So there is a process. And if we respect all people, that means that the people that come here need to respect our laws. And that's all that we're saying. We allowed 20 million immigrants in here legally since 2000. How much is too much? And how much are we going to put the burden on the taxpayers? Because the money has to come from somewhere. Yeah. It's just common sense.
So, Maria, I see you nodding.
Common sense. Great to have this, folks. And, just a reminder that you can go over to amweknow.com, hit that contact button, and send us a photo. You guys responded last time I requested this, and we received many, many photos. And we're going to show you those now of people wearing our amazing merch. Like I showed you before, the Fishers of Men, and we know logo. It is absolutely amazing. We hope you guys check this out.
Well, this just in, we have a Fox News alert from Brooke Taylor. You won't believe this. DHS is confirming that an Afghan national was arrested Tuesday after posting a video of himself on TikTok indicating he was building a bomb with an intended target of the Fort Worth area. Mohammed Dawood Al-Okazai is charged at the state level with making a terroristic threat. According to DHS, listen to this. He came to the United States as part of Operation Allies Welcome. So here you have it. This happened Tuesday. Texas Department of Public Safety. This is a second Afghan national, second one this week, Operation Allies Welcome. He had a terror plot. We know it comes the same week that deranged individual, that alleged assassin, took out 2 of our heroic National Guard, came here on the same program, Operation Allies Welcome, a program that we were assured time and time again by Mayorkas, by Jen Psaki, by Joe Biden himself was safe and secure. But here we have a second data point in 1 week that it was not safe. It was not secure. And we've got to look very hard at this program as President Trump is vowing to make change.
Absolutely amazing that the mainstream media is starting to get the word out on what's happening. Remember, no matter how much the media talks about it or the information we get out goes public, we still have Republicans like Andy Barr running to replace Mitch McConnell in the Senate. Listen to what he says.
What about resettlement of those refugees? Where should they go? What are the options?
Yes, I mean, we have failed in our obligation to help many of these Afghans who risked their lives and in many cases died for the cause of their own country in assistance to the United States. And we owe them to help them get into our country with these visas and the P1 and P2 visas as well. And I voted for these special immigrant visas because it would send a terrible message to our allies around the world that we're going to abandon you if you help us in your time of need.
Right.
Oh boy, total fraud. Wants to give more Afghan migrants visas to stay in the United States. Well, you know, interesting as this continues to play out day after day because more and more folks are getting swamped with this information. But the reminder on Ilhan Omar came from President Trump once again as he was answering these questions on Air Force One this weekend.
They're not good countries. They're very crime-ridden countries. They're countries that don't do a good job. They're countries that don't register from the standpoint of success. Don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
When you talk about denationalization,
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
She married her brother. President Trump makes sure to remind everyone, Ilhan Omar married her brother. She should be sent out of our country for illegally coming in. And you have all kinds of incidents that start happening related to the leadership there in Somalia. Right here, we have voter fraud case in Minnesota showing Somalian communities were targeted to register fake voters for Democrats. That's right. Just can't get enough of this.
In with new allegations in a Minnesota voter fraud case that first came to light this summer. 2 people pleaded guilty in federal court to being paid to help register voters. In all, 500 to 600 fraudulent voter registration applications were submitted to election officials in offices in 13 Minnesota counties.
Hi there, Frank. It was some sharp election workers in Carver County who realized the names and addresses on the voter registration forms did not match with any county residents. Prosecutors charged 2 people with 1 count each of voter registration fraud. According to the charging documents, the 2 were paid by an unnamed foundation to help register voters. The 2 defendants pled guilty this summer and have since moved out of state. The scope of the 2-year FBI and state investigation was not previously known.
And it's very significant that they said today it was 13 counties, between 500 and 600 fake voter registrations. And that's just from 2 of the independent contractors that worked with this group.
The investigation involves scouring hundreds of records.
On guidance from the FBI, the voter registration applications were mailed directly to the election lead, and instructions were shared to use gloves when handling the forms.
In testimony before the committee, Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon says the system designed to catch voter fraud worked.
This is a case about individuals who conspired to submit false voter registration applications. This is not a case about fraudulent votes. And this is ultimately a case of the system working.
How many were in the system is challenged?
Republican Committee Chair Kristen Robbins, who is running for governor, says she has additional concerns that the unnamed foundation that paid the 2 workers is funded by state taxpayer dollars.
99% of their budget comes from state grants. So this is a group that the state is funding and that then went out and did these voter registrations.
Now the hearing left.
Yeah. Just keeping up with what's going on over there in old Minnesota. News Nation even found. They went to the federal courthouse in Minneapolis, learned from federal sources. Somalians in Minnesota haven't stolen millions, they stole billions.
Did money from Minnesota taxpayers earmarked to feed hungry children wind up in the hands of a Somali terrorist group? The allegations center around a massive welfare fraud case being brought in Minnesota. A 78th defendant was charged just today. And now reports are coming out that some of the stolen money may have wound up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, a Somali-based terror group. In response, President Trump says he intends to end deportation protections for about 700 Somali nationals in Minnesota, calling Minnesota a, quote, hub for Somali gang networks, though he's provided no evidence for that. So what are the facts on the ground? Investigative correspondent Rich McHugh is at the federal courthouse in Minneapolis, Minnesota for us tonight. Rich, what are you learning?
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, we're at the federal courthouse where that 78th indictment came down just a few hours ago. All of it tied to Feeding Our Future. That's the corrupt nonprofit at the center of all of this fraud. We spoke with current and former federal sources, and they tell us billions have been stolen since 2019, that Minnesota is just riddled with fraud, and that a lot of this money goes back to Somalia, and a cut of all that money has gone to the Al-Qaeda-linked terror group Al-Shabaab. But I want to reset this for viewers because it's complicated. This all stems from Feeding Our Future. That's the largest COVID fraud ever. These criminals opened more than 200 federal child nutrition program sites throughout Minnesota, and sites lied, claimed to be serving meals to thousands of children a day. They created fake attendance rosters, fake invoices, and the government reimbursed them. David Gaither, he's a former state senator here. He saw this firsthand.
Rich, this is the Safari restaurant in downtown Minneapolis. This is the epicenter of some of the biggest fraud and waste and abuse in this area. The owner right now is currently in jail, federal jail. This restaurant, which seats about 35, supposedly served 18,000 plus meals a day.
A day?
A day for 7 months. 18,000 plus.
Oh boy.
Now, Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar, she was a fixture at this restaurant, the Safari, during her run for office. I think we have a photo of her at the restaurant with her supporters in 2018. Feeding Our Future, that's that corrupt nonprofit. It was the epicenter of it, but others spawned from it. There were home relocation services, child autism. They were bilking $399 million in services fraud in 2023 alone. To date, 86 people have been indicted and counting. Federal authorities tell News Nation 79 of them are of Somali descent.
We've been holding accountable those that are perpetrators of the crime. But we are not holding accountable those that created the opportunity to have those perps do what they did.
And that would be?
The policymaker, the attorney general, and the administration.
Now, federal sources that we've spoken to, several of them, said the same thing to me, Elizabeth. They say there's a saying in the Somali community here that when it rains in Minneapolis, umbrellas go up in Mogadishu. That just about sums it up. Back to you.
Oh, my goodness. What a saying. Oh, man. You know, I'm going to go over some stuff with Sun Tzu in light of President Trump's powerful Truth Social
ceremonies for all groups except for whites and, by extension, Jews. And so, look, I said this is a violation of the Civil Rights Act. They kept it up for a little bit. They finally abolished it under pressure. But that's just the kind of thing that they think it's a good idea. But what Trump is showing is that the American people send $150 billion a year to America's universities. There's basic obligations, basic rules they have to follow. And if they don't follow those rules, they don't deserve public cash.
Oh, my goodness. More and more exposure and going on to this show. They've got a lot of folks that watch him. Whew. The wake-up call is astounding, and the race card is being played all over the place. I don't know if you know this, but Eben Joseph, Ireland's special rapporteur against racism, talking with her guest about how Irish people need to be trained to accept mass migration.
Today we're going to be looking at a topic that is far overdue and is
devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions.
President Trump says he intends to end deportation protections for about 700 Somali nationals in Minnesota, calling Minnesota a, quote, hub for Somali gang networks.
DHS is confirming that an Afghan national was arrested Tuesday after posting a video of himself on TikTok indicating he was building a bomb with an intended target of the Fort Worth area.
Get them out of here. I want to get them out. We got a lot of people in our country that shouldn't be here, and they came in through Biden, and he was the worst president in the history of our country. But the single biggest thing he did was allow millions of people into our country.
People realize they're the fake news. And you can see that every story that they put out against the illegals, it is completely and utterly failing, where they're saying the illegals that are being arrested, they haven't committed a crime. Well, actually, Bovino says, well, that's pretty much the opposite of what's really happening. Amuse put this out and said, Chief Bovino, between 60 and 70% of illegal aliens caught in sweeps have criminal or immigration histories. Illegal entry is a crime. Re-entry is a felony. Facts the left refuse to admit. Gregory Bovino used a Fox News interview to correct the record, reminding the public that illegal entry violates 8 U.S.C. Section 1325, and re-entry after deportation violates Section 1326, a felony the left avoids acknowledging. So basically, if they haven't committed a crime in this country, they've committed a crime coming into this country, and they've committed a crime once they're deported coming back into this country. These are the laws that are on the books. So yes, every single one of these are committing a crime. He said 60 to 7% of illegal aliens arrested in immigration sweeps carry prior criminal immigration histories. With DHS logging over 527,000 deportations in 2025, Trump's enforcement surge is targeting high-risk offenders. Bovino said the radical left simply ignores a law because it undermines their narratives, and that's absolutely true. And why is Trump getting rid of the worst first? Because he knows the deep state players are going to use these people to commit the crimes when Antifa, the agent provocateurs, when they start pushing their riots. See, you don't bring in moral people to commit the crimes. You bring in the criminals that have no morals to commit the crimes. And this is why Trump decided to go after the worst of the worst first, because once you remove them, they lose their army and they're dependent on the army. And this is why they're fighting so hard for them. They know they're the worst of the worst. But again, if they're all gone, who's going to be lighting the buildings on fire? How are you going to have, hundreds or thousands of people on the street? You're just going to have Antifa. This is not what they want whatsoever. And you can see the Trump White House, they are now battling the media bias every single day. And I think people see this very, very clearly now. And the Trump administration, they've launched a brand new media bias tracker directly on the White House website. So this tool is designed to call out and document the endless stream of false, misleading, and biased stories peddled by outlets that have spent years attacking Trump and his agenda. The tracker serves as a record of the media's false and misleading stories flagged by the White House. So this is going to be very, very interesting as we move forward. And they also have the Hall of Shame list. And it looks like the Washington Post is the number one leader in the Hall of Shame, followed by MSNBC, which is MS Now. I mean, you could change your name, but it's the same network. CBS News, CNN, the New York Times, Politico, the Wall Street Journal. And you could see that they're setting this up so everyone can now see the fake stories. And you can see the fake stories every single day. And it gets worse and worse for the deep state players. Remember, they never thought they were going to lose control of the narrative. They thought, oh, we have control of YouTube, we have control of Twitter, we have control of Facebook, and we can tell these social media companies what to do, who to censor, what to hide. This is going to be absolutely incredible. And everyone will be looking at the fake news. And you can see over time what has happened is that new social media companies were created, old ones were taken over, and they lost that edge. And now they're dependent on the fake news, which now can be debunked very, very easily with social media. And this is why they're losing the information war. And they will every step of the way. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is
on the front steps of Nashville Church, in public, under streetlights, caught in progress by firefighters. Her accused killer, a 39-year-old old Somali
BC, which is MS Now. I mean, you could change your name, but it's the same network. CBS News, CNN, the New York Times, Politico, the Wall Street Journal. And you could see that they're setting this up so everyone can now see the fake stories. And you can see the fake stories every single day. And it gets worse and worse for the deep state players. Remember, they never thought who's going to be lighting the buildings on are committing a crime. He said 60 to 7% of illegal people realize they're the fake news. And you
devised a scheme.
Well, we believe it's deeply unfortunate that these Democrats
devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions.
President Trump says he intends to end deportation protections for about 700 Somali nationals in Minnesota, calling Minnesota a, quote, hub for Somali gang networks.
DHS is confirming that an Afghan national was arrested Tuesday after posting a video of himself on TikTok indicating he was building a bomb with an intended target of the Fort Worth area.
Get them out of here. I want to get them out. We got a lot of people in our country that shouldn't be here, and they came in through Biden, and he was the worst president in the history of our country. But the single biggest thing he did was allow millions of people into our country.
People realize they're the fake news. And you can see that every story that they put out against the illegals, it is completely and utterly failing, where they're saying the illegals that are being arrested, they haven't committed a crime. Well, actually, Bovino says, well, that's pretty much the opposite of what's really happening. Muse put this out and said, Chief Bovino, between 60 and 70% of illegal aliens caught in sweeps have criminal or immigration histories. Illegal entry is a crime. Re-entry is a felony. Facts the left refuse to admit. Gregory Bovino used a Fox News interview to correct the record, reminding the public that illegal entry violates 8 U.S.C. Section 1325, and re-entry after deportation violates Section 1326, a felony the left avoids acknowledging. So basically, if they haven't committed a crime in this country, they've committed a crime coming into this country, and they've committed a crime once they're deported coming back into this country. These are the laws that are on the books. So yes, every single one of these are committing a crime. He said 60 to 7% of illegal aliens arrested in immigration sweeps carry prior criminal immigration histories. With DHS logging over 527,000 deportations in 2025, Trump's enforcement surge is targeting high-risk offenders. Bovino said the radical left simply ignores a law because it undermines their narratives, and that's absolutely true. And why is Trump getting rid of the worst first? Because he knows the deep state players are going to use these people to commit the crimes when Antifa, the agent provocateurs, when they start pushing their riots. See, you don't bring in moral people to commit the crimes. You bring in the criminals that have no morals to commit the crimes. And this is why Trump decided to go after the worst of the worst first, because once you remove them, they lose their army and they're dependent on the army. And this is why they're fighting so hard for them. They know they're the worst of the worst. But again, if they're all gone, who's going to be lighting the buildings on fire? How are you going to have, hundreds or thousands of people on the street? You're just going to have Antifa. This is not what they want whatsoever. And you can see the Trump White House, they are now battling the media bias every single day. And I think people see this very, very clearly now. And the Trump administration, they've launched a brand new media bias tracker directly on the White House website. So this tool is designed to call out and document the endless stream of false, misleading, and biased stories peddled by outlets that have spent years attacking Trump and his agenda. The tracker serves as a record of the media's false and misleading stories flagged by the White House. So this is going to be very, very interesting as we move forward. And they also have the Hall of Shame list. And it looks like the Washington Post is the number one leader in the Hall of Shame, followed by MSNBC, which is MS Now. I mean, you could change your name, but it's the same network. CBS News, CNN, the New York Times, Politico, the Wall Street Journal. And you could see that they're setting this up so everyone can now see the fake stories. And you can see the fake stories every single day. And it gets worse and worse for the deep state players. Remember, they never thought they were going to lose control of the narrative. They thought, oh, we have control of YouTube, we have control of Twitter, we have control of Facebook, and we can tell these social media companies what to do, who to censor, what to hide. This is going to be absolutely incredible. And everyone will be looking at the fake news. And you can see over time what has happened is that new social media companies were created, old ones were taken over, and they lost that edge. And now they're dependent on the fake news, which now could be debunked very, very easily with social media. And this is why they're losing the information war. And they will every step of the way. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is
on the front steps of Nashville Church, in public, under streetlights, caught in progress by firefighters. Her accused killer, a 39-year-old old Somali repeat offender with multiple identities and 16 prior charges for sexual battery, indecent exposure, trespass, drug offenses, and more. And what about just Nashville's justice system? They dropped or they dismissed 15 of these charges. They gave him $5,000 bond on a sexual battery. They let him roam free until a woman ended up dead on a church sidewalk. Authorities can't even agree on his real name, Mohammed Abdi, Mohammed, or Sitar Mohammed. If the courts can't identify him, how are they protecting anyone? Despite being a woman, despite doing this to a woman to death, the judge set just $75,000 bond per the rape charge, meaning that he could have walked free again. The only thing stopping his release was an ICE detainer. And these, there's people out there that will defend them. This one right here, check her out. Just a little bit.
Charlie Kirk Show. It's March 17, 2026. So listen, we've got a lot of breaking news happening this morning.
Racist
First up for bids is
stream of consciousness from President Old Man Yells at Cloud.
He has issued a resignation letter resigning from my position as Director of National Counterterrorism Center. Effective today,
and the people of this country deserve
as his reason. He said there
so
was
much
no
better.
imminent threat.
I just watched the video of Donald Trump attacking
and he is out. He is out
beautiful
of the counterterrorism
Somali
center.
community
Blake, this
that
is
calls
going to be
Minnesota
used
home.
by a lot of people that
They
don't
are
like
part
this
of the
conflict
fabric
to
of our
attack
state.
the administration.
Going
Ironically,
down
and
Lake
perhaps
Street
intentionally,
right now, which is
they're part of the fabric.
Gabbard is
Donald Trump is so rude and so mean.
Before the Senate Select Committee.
Let's get some facts on Somalia. 49% of the population inbred. The average national IQ is 67. The IQ required to be considered mentally disabled in the United States of America is 70. 98% of Somali girls undergo FGM, female genital mutilation. Somalia has the world's highest maternal mortality rate. Piracy is Somalia's main source of income. Somalia has no functioning central government, hasn't had one since 1991. They've been engaged in civil war for the last 4 decades, 40 years, and still going today. Somalia is the most corrupt country on earth, almost always ranked in the top 3. More than 70% of the Somali economy runs on remittance from the diaspora. So the Minnesota has the largest Somali population outside Somalia. Somalia has the highest birth rate in the world, 6.9 to 7.4 children per woman. Somalia has never won a single Olympic medal in its entire history. They are home to one of the world's largest terrorist organizations, Al-Shabaab, which, by the way, the largest funder of the terrorist organization, Al-Shabaab, is the Minnesota taxpayer. Charcoal, struggling, smuggling to the Gulf states is one of Al-Shabaab's top revenue sources.
Doing these big public resignation jobs, mostly on the other
They need
side.
our prayer. The country needs help. They need our Heavenly Father.
On the side of the administration, Tillerson, you had a lot of that, and I don't think it. I don't think it made the president well disposed towards those people, and in that sense, it kind of did help us over time because it was a lot of people on the more moderate wing of the party stepping out. But if the people on the more anti-war wing are now the ones
to be involved in their lives,
I do
but they certainly don't need to come
how that might affect the president's approach
to be involved in their lives, but they certainly don't need to come over to our country and destroy it the way that they're doing now. If microplastic plaque is discovered in your arteries, veins, you are 4.5 times more arteries. By cause levels are lower than ever damage. BPA kimchi, low health and digestion. Or call. Again, that's 888-3.
How do you guys feel about
9941. Click in the description box below.
Do you guys think St. Cloud has been taken over by Somalis?
Hell yeah.
How do you guys feel about the Somali takeover?
Get out.
I don't know. You don't want him here?
I mean, I'm fine with them. It's just that, like, it's like overpopulated.
You feel like they're gonna eventually overpopulate the Americans here?
A country trying to assassinate our
did you guys vote for them to come here? As far as like, did you guys have to pass any legislation in order to receive them?
No. So
in your personal opinion, what's the biggest issue with them being here inside of you guys' city?
Driving.
I mean, you could
always a car
justify
crash for no
an attack
reason
against Iran simply on that measure alone. So I have
and the correlation between the Somalis and Muslims, are the majority of them all Muslims?
I've been very clear that I am.
Yeah.
So 10 years from now, do you guys think the Somalis will be the majority
always,
here?
rah-rah in favor of regime change.
They'll be the majority here. That's from the locals. And they need them to stay. They need criminals to come over. Why? Because criminals have no problem committing crime or voting illegally.
Of our troops, we're in support of success.
You know, Democrats are blocking.
And we want it to be a good thing for the
They're
world.
blocking. Representative Eli Crane openly says Democrats are rigging elections with illegals voting, and that would include Somalia, folks. Democrats, they're blocking the simple question that asks you, are you a U.S. citizen on the next census? Democrats are letting illegals vote in their elections. They're blocking voter ID. They blocked the SAVE Act.
Now, Joe Kent, I want to be very clear.
Here to fight for every single person in our country, to make sure they have fair representation, and to make sure that we are funding our states adequately. We're not here to try and rig elections so that more Republicans win. Mr. Chair, yield back.
I do believe he's a patriot.
Yield back. Chair recognizes Mr. Crane from Arizona.
Joe Kent. For those not aware of
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My colleague just said we're not here to rig elections to make sure that Republicans win more elections. That's exactly what you guys are trying to do. You guys are trying to rig elections. You guys in the last administration let in between 10 to 15 million illegal aliens. I also want to point out that you guys keep referencing the Constitution. I got some Constitution for you. How about Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution? It requires that the federal government protect each state from invasion. That's something clearly you guys did not do while you had the presidency. And now that we have these millions of illegal aliens in this country, we're just simply asking that we put a question on the census, are you an American citizen? And of course you guys don't want to do that, because you know that if we do that, and the American people find out exactly how many illegal aliens are in this country and voting, they're going to be as appalled as we see each and every day. And you guys don't want that. And they're not allowed to vote.
Does he even mention?
And you guys try and block every single effort that we make in this House to stop illegal aliens from voting. You guys blocked the SAVE Act as well. That's exactly what this is. You guys.
It's all coming out.
I think this is escalating the possibility.
And we're ready to watch this
let's just say it,
paper ballots,
presidential run in
voter ID required, and more. It's not only the trash that they're bringing in to vote, but these guys actually want
I'm
Horowitz
what I
reveals Minneapolis Somali community prefers Sharia law and wants to re-migrate to Somalia.
Do you feel more comfortable living under American law, or do you feel more comfortable living under Sharia law?
Explicitly break away from MAGA, and if that's going to take place, I wonder
Sharia
who else
law.
might join it.
I'm a Muslim. I prefer Sharia law.
Email us at
Sharia law.
What do you make of
You
this? 'Cause I know a lot of
prefer
you
Sharia
would be
law over
Joe
American law?
Fans in the past.
Of course, yeah.
Does this
Of course,
sour
yeah.
you on him? Or do you think he's in the right? We'd love to see.
Do you find most of your friends feel the same way?
Yeah, of course. If you're Muslim, yeah.
He can make his daughter marry somebody.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. He has the authority, you know? Yeah, to do that. Yeah.
So here, how young do you think it's okay?
Yeah, 15.
Is it right to kill somebody who insults Muhammad?
Yeah, because she is just, she had the religion, I understand. But she shouldn't pick up the prophet, you know?
Do you understand why people would want to attack her?
Yeah.
If you have a choice, would you rather live here or would you rather live in the Muslim country?
I'd rather live in a Muslim country with my people.
Would you prefer to live in America or prefer to live in Somalia?
For me, I think it's Somalia.
So
I would rather live in
big
Somalia.
shot across
I'm not
the bow.
Americanized.
There's
I just speak fluent, and I'm, you know what I mean.
big
I'm
moment,
articulate, and I can
and,
articulate what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean. That's about it. But other than that, I mean, as far as my culture and my preferences and everything, it's still Somalia. You know what I mean?
get to some of your
Even though here you have all the freedom and stuff like that.
Even though I have all the freedom,
I think life might be better in Somalia than here.
because now you have the freedom of it, of practicing your religion while working and doing your other things.
It's our belief that one day Mujahideen will have victory and Islamic law will come not to just Afghanistan, but all over the world. We are not in a hurry. We believe it will come one day. Jihad will not end until the last day.
So, of course, documenting the Somali residents in Minneapolis, they prefer Sharia to the Constitution, endorsing arranged teen marriages, condoning honor killings. Most said Somalia would be a better place to live than America. Minnesota's 85,000 Somali residents, the largest Somali community in the country, have long faced scrutiny over assimilation failures or widespread fraud culture, weak civic attachment. A McAllister College survey found 40% of Somali youth strongly identify as Somali rather than American, now confirmed on camera. You can see that documentation being put together. And again, my mind goes to, while they're here, is there a way that we could, somebody can reach out to them, share a Bible with them, tell them about Christ, and then maybe when they go back to Somalia, they could take the word back with them and maybe watch a change happen there. Who knows? So we continue to show you Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison.
Quite like foreign policy.
Listen to this.
Recently released audio recordings reveal conversations that happened between the Attorney General and individuals who were later implicated and in some cases convicted in the Feeding Our Future scandal. In those recordings, the Attorney General...
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
That's happening right now is there
Stage a point of order. Since 124, paragraph 1, in debate, members must confine remarks to questions for the body and avoid personalities. The debate here is not any individual. It is the policy and the amendment. Representative Niska.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Attorney General was asked in those recordings to use his authority to protect businesses under investigation for wrongdoing, and rather than distance himself or remain neutral to allow the legal process to unfold, he responded in those recordings, "Of course, I'm here to help."
Mr. Speaker.
So as he continues to bring this up, over and over again, he gets interrupted. The Attorney General, Keith Ellison, didn't just talk on the phone about not prosecuting Somalians for their crimes in exchange for campaign donations. He personally met with the Somalians and accepted the bribes.
Trump's allies in the Senate are allegedly planning to hold the floor, which will stop everything
Let's go to Tim Waltz.
until something happens
This
to save America.
creates
So they're going to
danger.
basically commandeer.
And I'll tell you what,
the
in my
Senate
time on
floor
this, I'd never seen this
force
before. People
this
driving my
motion
house
forward.
by my house
Now,
and using
it
the R
is
word
widely
in front of
popular.
people.
We've all talked about
this
that.
is shameful.
About 80%
And I have yet to
of
see
all Americans
an elected
support voter
official, a
ID
Republican
in some
elected
way, shape,
official
or
say, "You're
form.
right, that's shameful."
And the Democrats don't
He
want to
should
see
not
this
say it.
happen.
So look,
and it's
I'm
very
worried. We
clear
know
why
how
they
these
don't
things
want to
go.
see something
They start
popular
with
happen.
taunts,
It's
they turn to
because this is
violence.
core
So
and central
deeply
to the
concerned.
Democrat business model.
So people are driving by his
They need
house
to
and they're
offer
calling him the R word.
incentives,
And he's
opportunity,
upset.
civic
Not
engagement
upset
to
about all
illegal
the crime
immigrants
that's
in order
happening
to
in
get
his
more of them to
state,
come
not the
and more of them to
billions that
stay.
are
They have lost
pouring into
the trust
pouring out that
native-born
the
Americans,
taxpayers are working
citizens.
so hard for.
And
Not
therefore,
all
they
the
need
crime
to
of
incentivize this transformation effort,
day by
this
day that he
project
has to deal with.
transform
Oh,
the
no.
electorate of the United States.
He's
by
notice his
encouraging
passion when it
illegals
comes
be
to
able
this,
vote.
huh?
Now, we could have arguments.
So check this out. An Alabama
how many are
town
actually voting in our
rejecting a
elections.
plan to build
I
a
think there are
large
some.
Muslim
I think
school.
there are enough to be concerned about.
entertain a
Potentially,
motion.
there
Chairman,
is
I'll make a motion to deny the
determinative
application
amount of these people voting
based
in
on
some
staff
jurisdictions.
comments and what we've
Regardless,
heard
if you
this
think there
evening.
are none that are voting, why would you care
Second.
if we pass voter ID then? If the laws are so good, it's already illegal.
Have a motion
Why
to
would
have
you
a
not
second.
simply
Second.
pass something? Because
Second.
if it's not going to
I
have
have
an
a
impact,
motion
well,
second.
their argument is that a
all in
lot of
favor,
people,
say
married
aye.
women,
Aye.
black voters,
All
minority
opposed,
voters, can't
nay.
get ID that is prove that they're eligible to vote. That's their argument. Their argument is that married women are too dumb to
We
go
are
prove that they're,
recommending